Hello.
Hi, Sarah. Look at your hair. Can we talk first?
Yeah. Welcome to cotton candy version.
It looks great.
Thank you.
Yeah. It matches your earrings so well.
I was wearing my fuzzy sweater the other day, and apparently I just was all like essentially camouflaged to myself. It's great.
I love it. Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. Welcome to a very live, very special edition of the MixTape. Sarah and I wanted to go live with this episode because it was so timely, and we just felt like we wanted to talk about everything that Portland has been living through in the last 5 days.
Yeah. So for those of you who don't live here, we just got through, or kind of are still getting through, a snow ice storm. Portland gets snow like once or twice a year. Normally it's not a big deal. Normally we get some inches and it melts like within 24 hours. So we always kind of like are so excited because we go like sledding, go hard, and then it's gone. Go back to normal life.
Exactly.
But this time we had a lot of ice. A lot of ice. So it wasn't this, I mean, it really wasn't a super long experience again, but because of all the ice, people have been without power a lot, and driving has been scary.
Yeah, and the truth is that this city's not really very equipped to handle this weather. We're also seeing this play out in Texas right now. So Sarah and I just wanted to talk about like, what does it mean to live through this kind of like extreme weather when you are a pregnant or birthing or a postpartum person.
Yeah.
So that's what we're going to talk about today. Before we jump into it, we just want to do a quick self shout out. Is that what we should call it?
Sure.
If you're watching us, that means maybe you like us. We hope you do. And we'd love for you to like us on Facebook, subscribe on YouTube, and consider joining our Patreon.
On that note, we'd like to say thank you to our patrons that we have at the moment.
Liz and Carolyn.
We really appreciate you both. It's been really fun to like grow this community, and we have a lot of people that follow us on social media, but Patreon is just a little bit of a more personal place when we can post sneak peeks and all kinds of things in there.
Yeah, definitely. And if you came to our December parent trip event and you loved it and you wish you could rewatch some of it, it's both events, East and West, are on the Patreon in their entirety. And you can make a contribution of any size, like $1, and be able to watch them all. So think about it.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I think that's all the logistics, right? Like subscribe all to our stuff so that anytime we go live, you can know about it, or we post new MixTape episodes the first and third Wednesday of every month. It's a good way to know about it as if you already subscribe.
Yeah.
Shall we talk about this weekend? I know that you had a very eventful weekend.
I did. I had an exciting weekend. Yeah, so the snow started to come down on Friday. And I think the first thing that happened, as happens anytime snow happens in Portland, is doulas started talking to each other. I think that, I personally, every time I have a client who has a due date in December, January, or February, I kind of try and think about, where are they birthing? Where am I? And if something dramatic did happen, how would I get there? So like from the start, you should know that that's something your doulas are thinking about, like from the get. Like if you book with me in July, I'm thinking about snow in February. So we start kind of talking to each other and being like, okay, I've got this backup. Where are you? What is your house like? Like Marnelli and I had a conversation this weekend about her driveway because this is the kind of stuff that we talk about. So I was in contact. I was on call for a client. I was in contact with my backup. What's your neighborhood look like? What's your comfortability? What's your car like? Right. Mr. Doula, Olivia, and I just actually had to buy a new car because of a accident. And our new car is very all-wheel drive. So I was feeling pretty comfortable that regardless of what happened, I could get somewhere, right? If it took me an hour when it would normally take me 15 minutes, that was okay, but I could safely get there. So that's kind of the first thing that starts happening. When the snow starts coming down, the doulas all start talking to each other. Who are you waiting on? How many weeks are they? Where are they birthing? What is your house like? What is your car like? And how can I support you is a huge piece of it. I definitely got multiple texts from doula friends just checking in, being like, how are you doing? How am I doing? So that was really nice. I also talked to my client on Friday and was like, hey, let's talk. Let's have the same type of conversation. How confident are you feeling about getting to your birthing place in these weather conditions that could be happening? How confident am I feeling? And that was all super useful and good just for us to, connect and touch base. And then Saturday night is when we had, hello, this is my dog. Saturday night is when we had the ice storm. And that was that night that actually, I'm not somebody who gets scared of the sound of storms, but it was a pretty scary sounding night. Like it was a lot of the ice hitting the house and at least at our house, all of our back windows completely iced over.
Mm-hmm.
So my client reached out to me around 2 a.m. and was like, I'm really worried that I'm going to go into labor in this and I don't know what I'm going to do. And because I'm on call, that's part of my job, right? Is being there at 2 a.m. for those text messages. And sometimes those text messages are, hey, I think I'm in labor. And sometimes they're just, I'm freaking out and my partner's asleep next to me. Hi, can you decide where you want to be, please? So we talked a little bit and, the thing that I said to her was I was just like, look, your job is to have this baby. Your husband's job is to get you to the hospital. And it's my job to get me to you. And we're all going to do our own jobs, right? You don't have to worry about his job. You don't have to worry about my job. We got those things under control. And then she went to labor on Sunday. So Sunday, Mr. Doula Olivia got to live a little piece of the doula life. He constantly was like, when are we going? When are we going? What's happening? And I was like, I don't know. Welcome to doula work, babe. Who knows? He was like, well, we are going tonight, right? And I was like, maybe. That's possible. It's also possible not. The poor guy. You would think after however long of watching me live through it, but no, it was really different when it affects your life, your day. He was like, can I start a movie? Are we going to make it through a movie? I was like, I don't know. We can try. Let's go. So we ended up going on Sunday night, and a piece of her story is that her hospital was on divert, which is something that happens during extreme weather circumstances. So being on divert means that your birthing place is closed to admittance. And that happens when either they are out of bed space, like physical space, or when they're out of staff. So labor and delivery nurses have a ratio of 1 nurse to 1 patient. And if you have a bunch of nurses who are snowed in or live at the top of a mountain and can't come in, you're going to start seeing hospitals closing to admittance. And that means all of those patients who would normally go there are now flowing over to a neighboring hospital, which will close to admittance and flow over to another one. So it's not uncommon to see some hospitals, see some hospitals go on divert during a weather event, right? So that happened for her, which was stressful, right? You've chosen the place you want to have your baby, you've chosen your providers, and all of a sudden you're needing to look for something else and cope with your contractions at the same time.
Yeah, I'm currently on edge. I'm like, what happened? Where'd you go? What happened?
So we ended up going to a nearby hospital, and the thing that was like so cool and dramatic and like exactly everything that you read in an Ina May book is that my husband drove me there in our car. We opted for, since we had one car that could handle the weather, he was going to drive me and pick me up, so that he had a car in case something happened. It wasn't just locked at the hospital with me. So my husband drove me. I got there. She got there. Everybody made it safely. Everybody drove really slow. took it well. Like they used chains to get out of their neighborhood, and then they took the chains off for the highway. It was like everybody just had to like take it nice and slow and calm down, right? We weren't in an emergency. We just all had to make it very safe and easy. And as soon as we got there, and as soon as the stress of like, where am I going to be? How am I going to get there? Is my doula going to make it? As soon as all of that was handled, she made the most progress she made through her entire labor in that next hour. And that was because all of that stress was leaving her body. She just like, boom, went through dilation. And I just want to say, like, this is proof of the things that your childbirth educator says to you and your doula and your midwife says to you, which is that your mind, your headspace is so much a piece of your labor.
It's so
and if
important.
you feel safe and protected and seen, you are going to make progress. And if you feel stressed and worried and concerned, it's going to slow you down. So anyway, we made it. We had a baby. It was great. And you know, the thing that she really didn't want was to have a baby during this weather event. And she did. And everybody came out the other side really safely.
That's so great. And it makes me, a lot of times when I try to figure out like why something is happening with our bodies in general, but like specific to parenting, like thinking back evolution wise, like if you're running from a tiger, now's not the time to push out a baby.
Yes. Yes.
So when your body says, there's a tiger, it's like, whoop, nope. Same thing with lactation, right? Like a lot of the letdown reflex has to do with oxytocin. If you're stressing out, that's not flowing. There's a tiger coming. You're not going to, you're not going to have time to sit and nurse your baby. And you're probably not going to run and nurse your baby. That would be talent. I'd like to see that.
I'm imagining like a Parent Trip sponsored marathon where it's a very short track, but you do have to be feeding a child in some way in order to participate.
Have you heard of the big latch on?
No.
There's this whole thing that happens in the summer where like there's all these scheduled events all over the world. I think maybe it's just the US, where people all come together and basically like all latch on at the same time, like creating this almost like Guinness Book World Records kind of deal. But it's just like this community thing. But so I'm imagining a big latch on like relay.
I'm thinking like I'm imagining people with babies in front packs, like chest or breastfeeding. I'm imagining people with toddlers and like a bowl of Cheerios being like, run, run, run.
But yeah, so like until you feel safe from the tiger, your body's not going to be able to do these things that rely on hormones that keep things flowing and happy and reducing your stress levels.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. So I felt like, it was a hard situation to be in. And I felt like we rose to the occasion as best as we could, like took things slowly, tried to address anxieties as they came up during the ice storm. And then again, later when she did go into labor, we had to deal with some unexpected curveballs with her birthing place of choice being close to admittance. And at the end, biology and hormones won out. And as soon as she felt calm and safe and confident, her body just progressed, which was super rad.
That's so awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. I will also tell you that the entire time I was at the hospital, because my husband had to come pick me up, he was constantly like, what's happening? What's happening? And I was like, I could tell you what's happening and it would not affect your knowledge of when you need to come and get me. Like, I will tell you when the baby has arrived. And then from there, we can expect 2 hours for you to come get me. But other than that, I can tell you she's 5 centimeters right now. And I could tell you she's delivered in 20 minutes. I could tell you she's pushing right now and she could deliver in 3 hours. You need to leave me alone. And let me just tell you when the baby is here.
So one of the reasons that I'm a lactation consultant is that the on-call life is not my favorite. It is not for everyone. I mean, I can do it. I've done it before for other career path stuff. And it's all right. It's kind of, it's cool to be there for people in their time of like, I need it now. So that's really amazing. But man, it takes a very specific kind of person to be able to handle the like, go with the flow. I don't know what's happening. We're just going to make this work kind of thing. And some people are not on-call people.
Yeah. That reminds me of when I took my doula workshop back in 2016. Halfway through my workshop, my teacher, Stacy Marshall, if you're watching this, shout out to Stacy Marshall. I appreciate you. My teacher went around the room and was like, okay, I want everyone before we start class to say, given what you know about doula work right now, having taken half of this workshop, what is your number one like thing that you're thinking about or concern or like big question? Let's just like 50% mark. Let's just talk about it. And everybody's going around the room and they're saying like, oh, I just don't know. Like, what if I don't know what to do in a circumstance? Or like, how do I like stay awake and support somebody? Or how do I, with all these different stuff. And we got to me and I was like, I don't know what is wrong with all of you people. The clearly biggest problem with doula work is living on call. How are we supposed to do that? That's insane.
Yeah.
No, it was definitely something that I never anticipated I would be able to do. I 100% took my doula workshop and was like, well, that was fun. I'm never going to be able to do this in my life because I'm too type A. I can't deal with that amount of unknowing. And then I went to my first birth and I texted my husband during it and said, this is fucking life-changing. And I was like, oh, well, now I guess I have to figure out how to be on call. So you figured out.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Tell me about your weekend.
Oh, my weekend. We were really lucky at our house in that we didn't have to go anywhere. Like my husband works 4-day weeks. So by the time everything hit, it was his weekend. We had a lot of ice and we have a really big maple tree in our backyard. So that was pretty scary. We had a lot of, what was it? Time, no idea. But a couple nights ago, whatever night that was, it was just like every 20 minutes or something, another branch would fall.
Oh, I think it was, sorry to interrupt you. I think that was Sunday night because I was at birth and you texted me and you were like, I haven't slept because of all this stuff. And I was like, yeah, I haven't either. I'm in a birth right now.
Yeah. I was like, how's your backyard? You're like, I don't know.
I will tell you guys very briefly consider doing a sleep deprived mixtape episode where it would be me immediately after a birth and Sarah after having not slept due to the branches and just see what happens. So if you're watching and that sounds like content you want, 1, comment and tell us that, and 2, join our Patreon.
Yeah, that's definitely where that should go. I ended up trying to sleep on the couch because my husband had managed to pass out. And every time I'd get this close to sleep, another branch would fall. And it was so loud. And I knew that thousands of people around Portland didn't have power. And so I was just kind of waiting. I was like, this is going to happen. We're just this next branch is going to be the one where we don't have power. But somehow, even though a branch did hit a power line in our backyard, we have not lost power. Where do I have wood?
Here, I got some. I got you.
Thank you. We haven't lost power. It also has not been fixed because PGE is so busy trying to help fix everybody else who doesn't have power. So it's still just kind of this waiting, what's going to happen. It looks super safe. If you go look at it, there's nothing frayed. There's no sparks. It all seems fine, but it's just this thing that hasn't been dealt with yet that definitely cannot be ignored.
Yeah. Olivia told me that PG&E has in Portland alone 400 miles of downed power lines.
That's a lot.
That's the distance to the Oregon-California border.
Oh, man.
400 miles, right? Am I right? That might be more. That might be into California.
I'm so bad at that stuff, but definitely shout out to all of the EMTs and the power working folks and everyone who's had to be out in this and amazing. One of the things I love about stuff like this is watching neighborhood groups be all right, who needs to be dug out or who needs to come. People were putting out free charging stations outside of their houses with power strips
where they had power. They would
So just watching people come together around that kind of stuff is amazing. But there's definitely been a flurry of online, what do I do? I haven't had power I've seen people at 4 days, I think, by now. And they don't have a very optimistic outlook on when it's going to be fixed. So trying to figure out what to do with all of their stuff that's in their fridge and freezer And that kind of brings
including
us around to folks who have milk frozen in the freezer. It's like a really traumatic thing for a parent who has spent all that time getting that milk out of their body and saving it to use, whether it goes to daycare, whether it's in case of emergency or date night or whatever it is. Like, it takes a lot of energy to pump milk and freeze it, and then to potentially have this moment where you might lose it all is just like really traumatic for parents.
Yeah, totally.
So the key thing to know here, I think more than anything else, is that if there's even one little chunk of frozen milk left in that bag, you can refreeze it.
Oh, yeah. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So you don't, if it's like half thawed, it's okay. You can still refreeze it. So like if your milk is like hanging on there and you get power back, it's fine. You don't have to throw anything away. It's not the same thing as like meat where you're like, well, it was like half thawed and like, I don't know. And I guess I'm cooking half a cow today. It's not the same thing. If it's even a little bit frozen, you can refreeze it and it's okay. So with that in mind, trying to keep it even a little bit frozen as long as possible is the key, right?
Yeah, totally.
So for future planning, having your freezer as full as possible is the best way for it all to stay frozen for a long time. So if you see that like an ice storm is coming, or I don't know, say there's an earthquake and you know there's aftershocks coming your way, or like something that you know is coming, you can freeze a bunch of like jugs of water, containers, whatever, and just get it as full of frozen things as possible. If it's already hit and you're already in trouble, like in this case with snow, you could pack stuff full of snow and then shove it all in there as fast as you can and get it closed.
Yeah.
If your baby relies on that.
Like, sorry to interrupt you. Is that better than like, I feel like I would just take it all outside. That's better because then you don't have control over outside.
Yeah, because you know, especially with Oregon, it can melt so fast, but who knows how long the power is going to stay out.
True.
But the next thing I was going to say is if you're feeding your baby that milk, like if your baby relies on that milk, take out like a day's worth at a time. If you think there's going to be snow around, you could take out a couple days and put it out in the snow. So then at least you're not opening the freezer every day.
Yeah.
That would be a good way to go. Or you could even like say, you know, PGE says it's probably going to be like 4 more days. You could fill a cooler with snow, and that would help keep that snow frozen as long as possible, even if the rest of everything is melting.
Yeah.
It's really about getting like super creative. It's hard because like, especially in Oregon, like it just fluctuates so fast.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Yeah. I'm a California baby. Oregonians don't hate on me. And I was born 4 months before the Loma Prieta earthquake. So my parents had a 4-month-old when that huge 1989 earthquake hit, and they were without power for more than a week. And one of my mom's, I was thinking about what you said about the charging stations and everything. One of my mom's favorite memories from that time, she said, first of all, that was the first time that she realized, she was like, I never want to sleep on another floor from my baby, because my nursery was downstairs and their bedroom was upstairs. And she was like, oh, guess what? I don't want to do that ever again. And then the other thing she said was, she said that their neighborhood it was in October in California. They had a huge bonfire out in the middle of their cul-de-sac, and they cooked all of the freezer food. And
That's
then
awesome.
Between the families. Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. I mean, I'll tell you that David came and picked me up on Monday after the birth, and he had the trunk of our car filled with firewood because someone in our community, one of our friends, had been without power and gone through all their wood, and there's no wood or Duraflame logs to buy anywhere because there's so many people without power. Yeah. So David loaded up like a bunch of our wood pile into the back of his car and was like, I'm going to go pick up my wife from a birth, and then I'm going to go drop off firewood.
That's so great. Yeah, I know like hotels are completely booked right now because everyone's trying to find places with heat.
Right. And it's so hard because it's like, this is the same thing as what happened this summer with the fires, which is that if it was just the fires or just the power outages and not the pandemic, people would have so many more resources.
Right.
But we also have this pandemic, which is like, who can I really go to? Who's in my bubble, or who's willing to break a bubble to let me in, right?
Yeah. Well, and it was weird too, because like somehow like being stuck at home because of snow and ice for a minute like pulled me out of this, like I'm in my house because of COVID.
Yeah.
Which was kind of nice, but then also like for a minute, like you have to remind yourself, like, no, I still can't go like 3 or 4 years ago when we had snow. The kids and I trekked like walking and bus and different stuff to some friends' houses to go hang out and play in the snow. And I was like, no, we can't do that this time. We're just here.
Yeah, totally.
But yeah, I mean, it's so one other thing is that folks that rely on pumping is really tricky when you don't have power. So hopefully folks had like a Haka or a manual pump. They're not near as popular these days, like the actual manual pumps. But Hakas are pretty popular, and they take up so little space in your house. It's kind of a nice emergency preparedness thing, I would say, to have around. You may or may not need to use it normally, but at least then you would have something to help pull out the milk if you need a pump and you don't have power.
Yeah, if you're exclusively pumping.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, there's whole other episodes we could do on emergency preparedness and feeding your babies and stuff.
Totally. And I think, a piece of it is also that if you are exclusively breast or chest feeding and you're not pumping and you don't have any frozen milk, there's also the stress, right?
Mm-hmm.
Of the experience. Like if you're I had a client who had a 2-week-old baby, and she texted me and said, my husband, my dog, my baby, and I are all gathered around our fireplace, and like, this is where we live now. And that's so hard.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen so many posts of people who are like, once, just like with your client, right? Like once I let go of the stress, once I knew power was back, or once, once I wasn't worried about our food situation, whatever, all of a sudden my supply just jumped right back up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's something to keep in mind for everyone who's still dealing with really stressful situations, is just keep nursing on demand and doing what you can to be calm, but know that this is not going to impact your nursing relationship long term. This is something that you can come back from this if your supply does dip.
Yeah. This is not forever. I know that this is stressful if you're pregnant and waiting on a baby, if you've got a new baby at home, if you've got kids at home who are like, what is happening? Why is the power out? Why is it cold? Why am I wearing a hat in the house? So it can feel like forever. And we're not trying to invalidate any of your feelings about it, but just, this is temporary, and we're going to make it out the other side of just another thing that's happening right now.
And on that note, if you need help, reach out to us. Why not? We know a lot of people here in town. Like, we've got all of our parent providers, both East and West, plus all the people that we all know. Like, we've got a wide reach. So if you need something,
right. Right. Like if you need a hand pump, or if you need a charging station or something like that, do please reach out.
Yeah.
Sarah, my screen is terrible right now. Do we have comments over there? Is that what I saw?
Someone's husband made a couple comments.
Oh gosh. Sir.
I didn't actually read the second one. I pulled out my phone with the first one to make sure that it wasn't like, I can't hear you.
Okay.
But it wasn't that. He loves us.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Actually, there's a second one. I could pull this up just for fun. I couldn't read that one the same way. There we go. Got Carol Ann.
Oh, Carol Ann.
This is a great resource for pregnant folks and beyond. Check them out. Thank you so much.
Carol Ann is one of our Patreon sponsors, and we just really appreciate her and Liz. And we would love for you to join the two of them in helping us reach our first goal. Our first goal is to reach $40 a month, and that is going to cover our streaming costs. So it covers for paying for the services that we use, and just basically takes it from being an out-of-pocket service to one that's covered by this organization. So we would love for you to be a part of it, helping us reach that. I know it seems like a small goal, but it would make a big difference for Sarah and I.
Yeah, I mean, this is something that we really love to do. We like to talk to each other about this kind of stuff. And I think we've really enjoyed like our backyard hangouts where we talk about it, but it's more fun to talk about it and know that we're getting to spread information. But unfortunately that comes with a little cost. So if y'all want to join our community as well as contribute to allowing the mixtape to continue, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, I have a little sneak peek, not sneak peek, but like tidbit for those who happen to watch to the very end.
Okay.
You know about this. This is not a surprise for you. I know I like to do that to you.
Yeah, you really do. I never
really
know
do.
what you're going to say.
I am in the process of working on making the mixtape in podcast form. So if like sitting and watching these videos is not something that fits in your day, but you do drive, or it's easier to like listen in earbuds while you do dishes, pretty soon, keep an eye out. We'll have the mixtape via podcast apps and things that you can keep caught up that way.
Yeah. We're excited about it. Do you have anything else you want to say?
I don't think so. I mean, there's so much going on. There's so much to say. If y'all have questions or suggestions, drop them in the comments. We will totally answer them. And we can continue this conversation. It's really important stuff because climate change is real, right? Texas is more snowy than us right now.
Yes. It was this crazy experience of like me and my mom lives in Tigard, me and my mom having this like, snow, ice, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And then as soon as it started thawing here, it started freezing over where my sister lives, which is New Orleans. Like, what?
It's so crazy.
Yeah, no, I think I'm totally on the same page with you that emergency preparedness has always been a big deal. And growing up in California, it was something that was kind of drilled into me, actually very literally in school. But yeah, it's just something that we should all kind of be thinking about when we can. Definitely. So thank you for joining us for this conversation, for this special live episode. And subscribe to the channel so that you can know when we put out new episodes, and like us on Facebook so you can follow whatever we're up to. We do panels, we do virtual events, we make cute reels. And
speaking of, head to our social media right now. There's a new one today.
And we'd love to just keep talking to you. So have a good day. Stay warm. Stay safe. We think you're great.
Bye, y'all.